Yo guys, what is up? I hope you're all doing great. Welcome to another episode of this new show that I don't have a name for yet, but wait for it, a good name is coming at some point. Today we're gonna talk to a very interesting person, Alex, who runs the channel Reporterfy Media.
My name is Alex, and I'm going to take you on a Chinese adventure like you've never seen before.
So basically, he's Canadian who has lived in Monaco, who is based in Bangkok / Chongqing now, and he has traveled to over 100 different countries.
What made me choose China was everyone telling me not to go to China.
And we're gonna talk about finding the American dream in China. We're gonna talk Chongqing, the city of 30 million people that basically nobody knows about.
Chongqing is home to Szechuan cooking. It's known for spicy hot pot and spicy noodles.
And yeah, much more. A lot of interesting stuff. So keep watching to find out.
Well, thank you so much for agreeing to do this, Alex. Let me start by saying that if there's someone that knows something about traveling, it's definitely you, because you've been to over 100 countries. That's crazy.
It took a while to get there.
So how did you choose China?
Well, you know, what made me choose China was everyone telling me not to go to China. And if you're ever in that situation where people says, oh, I don't go there. And so most of the people that I asked, I said, why not? And they just said, well, you know, they have a lot of stereotype, questions or stereotypes of China.
Mm-hmm.
And the more I started to hear about this, the more I was interested in it. And then I asked, you know, a lot of my friends, well, you're saying not go to China. What don't you like about China? What city did you travel to in China? None of them had ever been to China. So I said, well, you know, the best thing that I can do is, book a flight. And that was about 17, 18 years ago was my first attempt to go to China. And it was a city called Shenzhen, which is very different, from when I first went there to what it is now.
Yeah, I mean, 17 years ago, Shenzhen must have been almost a village.
No, it was coming onto its stride. It was really in the manufacturing sector. The changes now from what it was 17 years ago are actually the city is greener and the sky is more blue, which would normally be the opposite for, a lot of these cities that have such massive growth to it. But I really noticed the environmental concerns of, the Chinese locals, where the buses went to environmentally friendly buses, the taxis went to, eco-friendly taxis, the amount of flowers and plants and everything and trees that were, in the city has made a major difference to it. I mean, I remember being there and all I could see was kind of like a gray sky, but now it's blue as can be.
Shenzhen is a very green city. And also I think that the streets are very big and I was shocked the first time I went to Shenzhen. I was really surprised that there is a city like that out there and nobody knows about it.
It's extraordinary, when you're mentioning the streets. I mean, China is building always for the future, and they're not in a situation where they're going to build a temporary, solution. If you see a lot of these major cities in the world that are even trying to get a second or third runway on their airport, like, Heathrow in London, it's taken decades. But if you have somewhere like, Shenzhen, they build for the future. They're not about going back into the city, ripping up the streets. So if there's enough people in the city, they'll just build another city and, build the infrastructure to join them together.
You have a very interesting life story. You're Canadian, you lived in Monaco, and now you're based in between Bangkok and Chongqing.
Yeah, the move from Europe, that was about 6 years ago. My wife and I came over to Thailand and started to notice that once again, where people come up with these assumptions what Thailand is like, or what China is like. We started to notice that, our dollars were going a lot further here, and the standard of living was actually higher. And what I base that on is I base it on, the hospitals. What are the hospitals like? What what's the infrastructure like? Is there a good infrastructure? Thailand, Bangkok has something called the BTS. It's like a SkyTrain line. You could see that, it was emerging. Yes, of course, these countries still have to deal with certain parts of poverty. But you can see that, Thailand was moving forward in the right direction to get its infrastructure built. And that then was starting to, as we kept traveling here, we decided to buy a condo here. And what happened is that we would come for 2 weeks, then go back to Europe, then wait 6 or 7 months, come for 2 weeks. And finally, we just said, we can't keep doing this. We really enjoy being here, the climate and the food and, enjoying, the nice infrastructure and how close Thailand was to other major cities like Singapore and Hong Kong and stuff like that. So we made the move. And then I decided to, dip my feet back into China, and, we do some business there. So it was important for me to, see how connected Thailand was. What's an interesting point is when I first moved here, there was barely, I would say under about 5-6 years ago, there was only about 300,000 to 400,000 Chinese coming here a year at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, recent results that have come out from the tourism board is now it's approaching 12 to 15 million a year.
Wow.
So that number had skyrocketed. And what I noticed is all the carriers, whether they're discount or discount carriers, kind of like what you have in Europe there, EasyJets, they started to really emerge here for China. And you'd go to the airport and you would see every second flight was either, Chengdu, Changsha, Chongqing, it would say Shanghai, Beijing. And it was like, whoa. So I then started to see the price frames of these flights, and it was like, okay, I must go because these flights are bringing a lot of Chinese here. Who's going back? Probably the return Chinese people. And I was just thinking, well, I have to take advantage of this situation with so many flights and so much discount airline flights. These cities are opening up. So I said, let's go.
I myself never been to Chongqing. I spent 2 years in China, which is a shame. Last time I was in China, I really wanted to visit. But I feel like Chongqing is not the usual choice. So what made you choose Chongqing and not, Shanghai?
You got a very good point when you're saying, why Chongqing? Why not Shanghai? Shanghai is absolutely stunning. The city is stunning. The Bund area is just magical.
Beautiful, right?
And my wife and I were there last year before we went to Chongqing, and we came back from Shanghai and said, everybody, you have to see this. And everyone's like, nah, Shanghai. I said, have you been? No. Well, you have to.
Typical.
You have to go. Yeah. So, Chongqing, this name Chongqing, well, about 3 or 4 years ago, I saw an article on CNN that said Chongqing is bigger than the population of Canada. And I thought, that's always stuck in my head. So this year at Christmas time, my wife said that, look, do we want to have Christmas again? Do we want to put up the tree, have everybody over, and get traditional Canadian Christmas? My wife's Lithuanian. So we thought, are we going to make turkey this year? And she says, no, we're going to go to China. And I said, what are you talking about?
So it was her idea.
Yes. She says, we're going to China, and we're going to go to China on Christmas Eve.
You know what? After watching your vlogs, actually, that doesn't surprise me, because I was watching your vlog yesterday and I was thinking, like, your wife seems like a really cool person. And
she's, it's that Eastern European, curious and confident all in one package, and it's, when you've come up and been brought up in a culture that has, have to use education to get forward in life, it really shows that, that in a person, and the family values, with my wife are very, very deep. There's not a day, probably not more than 5 or 6 hours does she not communicate with her mother or her sister. That's that's something that I've learned from, the Eastern European families. But she said, let's go to Chongqing on Christmas Eve. And I said, really? Like, are you serious? And she
That
said,
sounds like
yes.
a very original idea.
Yeah. So I got onto the computer and I said, okay, let's check out flights. I looked at the flights and I said, well, they're only about $150. And so I said, and they're wide open. The flights, there's not many people, going back to Chongqing on Christmas Eve. So we booked the flights, and then I was blown away by the price of the hotels. Because normally at Christmas time, you want to spoil yourself and stay somewhere nice. And we picked, some really nice hotels, and you can see those in my videos, and the price ranges were anywhere from $40 to $100, but some of these are 5-star hotels. If you pick a hotel like the ones that we stayed in any other major city in the world, $400 or $500, even $600 a night easy. So that's the nice thing about going to China too, is that you get these price breaks that you just shake your head and say, how is this possible? So we booked that flight. We decided to get into Chongqing, and that's where things got interesting, because we just assumed that there would be a nice, city of 33 million. There would be a nice tourist information booth when we got there. And no, so we couldn't get our mobile phone SIM card at the airport because that had closed down as it was Christmas Eve. So it made for a very interesting approach to a city of that size. That's for sure.
When you arrived in Chongqing, what surprised you the most?
What surprised me the most, how clean it was, how spotless a city of that size is. I mean, we are talking a city, they call it a megalopolis. So when you add all the districts up, it's about 100 million. But with the 9 main districts, it's 33 million. I mean, this is a major, major city. And I was so surprised at how the sidewalks were clean. The back alleys were clean. There was no graffiti. There was no, ugly advertising. It was all very uniform and neat. And people were very respectful and very curious what 2 Westerners were doing in their city on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, I can imagine. So there's not that many tourists there in general.
I would say in a week of being there, I saw 5.
Oh my God. Well, that does not happen in Shanghai.
There's probably a lot. Yeah, there's probably a lot more, but we counted maybe 5.
Well, that's crazy.
You also asked me about, kind of moving around the town, and what my wife and I decided to do is we bought our equipment, our video equipment and stuff. And we were kind of like, I wonder what it's going to be like to video the city, because here's the problem with a lot of Chinese cities, that a lot of them are not really on YouTube. Sure, you might have someone in there talking about food, or someone talking about, teaching English or something like that. But when it gets down to what's going on with the nightlife, what's it like at a KTV place? What is it like at a high-end bar? What is it like at a sky bar? A lot of these things I couldn't find. They just didn't exist on YouTube. And I thought, okay, there's 4 videos there. No. So at that point, I said to my wife, look, we have a YouTube channel, and I've been kind of, putting the product together on it. And I said, this city's fascinating. We have to film it. We have to, start the cameras rolling. So we pretty much did that when we got into Chongqing. We dropped our bags and I started the video cameras rolling.
You could say that Chongqing inspired you to be more serious about YouTube?
Yes, exactly. When you travel places, you kind of want to get a sense of comfort before you even get there. And I was just struggling. I know that this is a major city, but to foreigners like us, I mean, we're not getting the videos like we would see in Shanghai. And I think a lot of that reason is nobody knows about one of the biggest cities on the world. It's still a secret, and it's bizarre.
You know, watching your vlogs also, I was surprised. Like, I didn't know myself, and I lived in China, how amazing the skyline was. I mean, you know, in Shanghai, you think that Shanghai is the shit, but like, and other places are nice, but you know, they're not Shanghai. But watching your videos, I was like, whoa. I mean, next time I go to China, Chongqing is like on top of my list.
Oh, that's really great to hear. And I think you'll have an amazing time. I think too, a lot of, if a lot of the Chinese people are watching this is a very, very popular city within China. It's one of the most toured cities in China by Chinese people. They love it. They go there for the hot pot. They go there for the temperatures. I mean, this city is sandwiched. They call it the furnace. I mean, it's sandwiched between mountains and, rivers all over the place. And it really builds up. And I like hot cities, being in Thailand, Bangkok. I like being in very humid, warm cities like Singapore. Some people don't like it because it damages their hair or makes them, sweat a lot. But this city, I'm telling you, it's exciting to be a human being on earth, to go to a city like this, because you jump off that plane, you're into the city, and there's just so many new things that you haven't seen. The lights, the fashion is different there. It's amazing. The people, and you've experienced this, where people stop you in the street and say, "Hi, welcome to my city," and you're like, "Hi. Do you want to go out for dinner?" You're like, okay. You think somebody invited me to a dinner in maybe Paris or London or New York.
You would run away.
Well, you would just say, if it was your first hour in your city, you'd probably ask a few questions. But they're like, no, come, we show you hot pot, how to eat hot pot. Hot pot is very popular in Chongqing. It's kind of like and you'll see it in one of my videos there. It's a barbecue, and you cook all these meats. And it was actually, in early days, it was more for people. And Chongqing is a city that has a major port, but it was kind of formed way back when, people were working on the boats and they weren't getting all the good meat. So they would cook other parts, the intestines or the cow stomach or certain parts of, chicken feet or something that people wouldn't really use. And so they thought, well, with spices and this hot pot, it derived into being one of the most famous things in Chongqing. And I gotta tell you, I tried it for my first time and I thought, wow. Like, just when you think you've tried all these foods and all these spices, I mean, this just blew me away. And now I'm here and I'm thinking, I got to get back there. I have to get, my hot pot fixed, because it's very, very, it's very good. I mean, it's just amazing.
Beside the hot pot, what's your other favorite thing about Chongqing? If you would just have to pick one thing.
Oh, just one. That's not fair.
Okay, you get two things.
Two things. Okay. Number one is I feel the music city. The nightlife is just electrifying there. Yeah. I'm a big karaoke guy. And if you've seen one of my videos, I was there. I went to the karaoke bar, was like $11 million. The karaoke bar, $11 million. They gave us our own room. And the other thing that I like about Chongqing is value for money. Wow. $1.20 to take a taxi to the other side of the city. And I mean, the price you can do, if you had a city where you said, okay, I want to go and eat anywhere, drink anywhere, and drive around and not worry about the price, this is the city to do it.
So is China the new American dream?
That's a very interesting question. I would have to say, if we're taking into consideration, you want to get further in your life, there's certain things that you need. One of them is, of course, sometimes people need education. Sometimes people need luck. Sometimes people need an economy. Sometimes people need a business environment. And right now, we're in a very difficult part of the world right now. And if you look at, all these aspects of trying to move forward in the future, every time I go to China, I get this burst of entrepreneurship, this burst of feeling of moving forward. And it's hard to explain. Like, people might say, well, you need to know someone in China. What I've noticed with all the, the amount of cities I've traveled and how many years I've been to China, and just on this recent trip to Chongqing, I met a vlogger in the city center, and I didn't know him. I saw him sitting there with a camera, and I thought, okay, what's this? And he pulled me over immediately, and he says, say hello to my fans out there. And I said, okay, what are we streaming? And he says, we're streaming in the city center. And I said, okay, how many people are on the stream? He says, just about 1.2 million.
Wow.
And I thought, wow, okay. And he says, you're in vlogging. Why don't you come to my house tomorrow for breakfast, and I can show you what Chinese vloggers do? And I thought, that's very nice of somebody to do that. Invite us over, invite my wife over for something. And I started to notice that people weren't individual there, were kind of like, I got this idea, but I can't share it. It's more of, oh, you're interested in this? I can help you with this, and I can open the door for you with this, and I'll support you because you're my friend, or I want to help you. That was very different than what I've experienced, in my younger years in North America, where it's very competitive. And there's nothing wrong with competition, but competitive to the point where sometimes people would drive out competition. In that market of 1.4 billion people, there's plenty of room for people to succeed. And I have felt that, the generation coming up now in China have a vision. And their vision is education, to get, to understand other cultures. I didn't hear one person talk anything negative about Western culture when I was there the whole time. I have not seen it. I've not heard about it. Some may even criticize certain parts of their government, and they're okay with that. But they said, with the tools that our government has given us, fantastic infrastructure, great ports, security, investing in China as whole, they have this one vision, one goal. And that really said to me, boy, does this remind me of growing up as a child in Canada, of the American dream. It really, it struck me, and I thought, this is fascinating, because this is going to China. This is going on in China. And for people that say, they have these stereotypes of China being this backward country, let's remember what they've achieved. 850 million people out of poverty, in the last 2 to 3 decades. The amount of infrastructure, growth, education, all these things are the new China. And I think what gets mixed in the message here is people have a vision of the old China. And I'm sure you're quite familiar with that. So when you try to explain to people, yes, I was just in a fantastic city. Yes, I felt secure. Yes, I felt this. They say to you, well, no, I saw a video on the internet that showed this and it showed that. And you get to that point where you just kind of stop defending and just say, well, I've tried.
That's how I feel.
What I do with my videos, and you can see I've got well over 20 some videos just on this one city of Chongqing. I really went down to the places and done the things that people said aren't possible. Like, people will say to you, oh, but they block YouTube in China. Yes, they do. But they got Weibo, they got Youku, they got, their version of TikTok. Actually, TikTok was invented in China, but it's under another name. I think it's Douyu or something like that. Then there's Bilibili. They have their own social networks. And I asked that question. I said, and you'll see it in my videos. I said, do you feel, and I was asking Chinese people, do you feel that you're restricted? And people said, well, I can communicate with my friends. I can drink alcohol when I want to. If I want to gamble, I can go to Macau. I can travel anywhere as a Chinese person. And they said, it's not China that's restricting. It's countries that aren't allowing Chinese to come in without visas. And that's an interesting point. I never looked at it from that point. They said, no, the government will let us go anywhere. 300 million of us traveled last year. That's the population of pretty much the population of the United States. The Chinese are out there doing more. They say their life is improving, and they're not really, and this is what I got from just the amount of people that I've been friends with in China, is they're not paying attention to the top part of the CCP and the government like that. They say we can get to work faster. We're not in 2-hour traffic jams. We're taking metros to work that take 30 minutes and cost us 50 cents. Our lives are safe. And, I mentioned things about, CCTV cameras, and they say, yes, they're there for our security. But in the West, we would say, well, no, they're there to look at us.
Yeah, to spy on people.
Right. So there's this, this whole thing about, China, that I think it's just very, very misunderstood country. And in order for a person to form an opinion, you have to get on an airplane, or you don't have to. And if you don't want to get on an airplane, then I would say, at least from a Western standpoint, is that you are missing out on a miracle that's going on in the world. These cities are very, very advanced.
You talked a lot about the fact that Chongqing is so gigantic. I mean, 30 million people. Do you feel like it can be intimidating? Because I think especially people in the West, if they hear a city of 30 million, I think a lot of people might be more scared than interested in going.
I can see that would get the anxiety going in a lot of people. But the size of the infrastructure that China has, it's not like, you've spent a lot of time in Shanghai, down in the Bund area. The amount of traffic, well, they have, instead of 2 roads going into their town, they have like 8 one way, 8 the other way. So the traffic flows, the sidewalks are massive. I mean, these sidewalks are not, where you can only fit 4 people in a line. You could drive a truck down these sidewalks, no problem. So it doesn't really feel like a big city, even though it is. And, the areas that you're describing in Shanghai, in the Pudong area, where all the beautiful buildings are, remember how beautiful that area is, and all the lovely parks down there. When you're walking around, it's just amazing. And at no time do I ever feel intimidated or scared, or because it's such a gigantic city. I would say that it is important to have a map, that is for sure. And, to make sure that you have a point that you can recognize. And it's not hard, because all you got to do is look up to the sky and say, right, that's the twin building of the Sheraton, or that is the Marriott, or that is Raffles City, or, that is the Hyatt Hotel. It's pretty easy to get around there.
If someone would be interested in moving to China, would you recommend Chongqing? Since you mentioned yourself, there are not that many foreigners. And if we're talking foreigners, obviously.
The nice thing about cities like Beijing and Shanghai is they have a very, very large, I would say, expat Western pockets to the town. Chongqing is still a city that, I went to on my departure, I went and looked at the departure board on the city of this size. And I haven't put that video out yet. It's coming up. But there was 4 huge panels, and 3.5 of the panels, 3.5 of the panels were all domestic flights. And then there was this little section of the only international flights flying into Chongqing. If you're an adventurous person that wants to see a city and discover it before, it goes mainstream, just like Bangkok or something like that, once Bangkok got into the movies and into the vloggers, and everybody's been here. It's one of the now most traveled cities on the planet. So Chongqing, for sure, for price, for its uniqueness, yeah, I would do it. But if you want to feel comfortable, cities like Shenzhen are fantastic, and I'm probably going to miss a lot of them, but Chengdu is also amazing. Shanghai, of course. But do you really want to start off with the nicest trophy in the world? Shanghai, that's a tough one. I would make a few of my friends go to a few more Chinese cities before they go to Shanghai, because Shanghai is just it's massive. And Beijing is more of a governmental city with tourist sites and stuff like that. It's a little bit more, we'll call it China in Beijing.
So we talked a lot about all the things that we love about China, but obviously, there are good and bad things about every place. So what would you say are the things that you don't really like about China, or that bother you in China?
Some of the food for me is tricky, because I have an allergy to fish. So there's a lot of things in their menu. A lot of it's around fish. They use a lot of fish in a lot of the markets and stuff. It's really hard to point out things that I guess are negative, because we get them in our own countries too. So, if I'm going to point something out negative in China, it's probably going to be the same thing that's happened to me. But, I can't really come on here and say, gee, I wish that, the tourism board was more opening to welcome tourists. it should be more, I should maybe learn their language to interact more with them. So the negative parts of China could be maybe a bit frustrating to get on other networks. Like we need a VPN inside China to go on certain networks, to use what we use to get around town, Google Maps and all that kind of thing. But having said that, and I found this out on about the third or fourth day that visiting China Mobile is they will help you install all these apps and help you get around these cities and show you the apps to get there. So if there's something that I think they could be a little bit more communicating on is if they see a foreigner struggling, asking directions, they should just say, go visit China Telecom, get WeChat on your phone, and you will unlock China like there's no tomorrow. And that just happened by mistake. On the third day I went there, I asked for directions, and the lady said to me, she was so polite. She said, you don't have WeChat. I said, everybody's asking me if I got WeChat. She says, you need WeChat. And I said, okay. She said, go to China Mobile. She was so kind. And she said, go to China Mobile. And once you have WeChat, China is going to open for you. And she was totally right. As soon as I got WeChat, everything opened up. We wanted to go to a bar, but we didn't know how to make reservations. But then when WeChat came on, they say, yes, reservations confirmed. Also, money in China is not very popular. Cash is not very popular in China. So that was one thing that I was really kind of like, oh man, I was trying to pay with my phone, but they don't really link up foreigners to WeChat and Alipay. So that was very frustrating for me because on my last night there, I was in a bar and I was just spending my last yuan and I didn't have enough. So it was like a trip to the bank machine, or I'll try my Alipay for the first time. So tried my Alipay, put my card in, didn't work. Try my WeChat Pay, need to have an bank account in China. I get that. But maybe they could come up with a foreign, like knowing that we're foreigners, that we can buy some top-up cards. Like maybe at the airport when you arrive, you can buy $50 or $100 or $200 of currency for your phone and put the money on the phone so you can use it everywhere. And I think the viewers don't really know kind of exactly what we're talking about when we mean no money.
Yeah.
Meaning there is hardly any exchange of any money in this country because
you
when
pay
you're
for
even
everything
seeing,
with your phone, basically.
Exactly. When people are playing music in the town, buskers that are playing music, they take WePay, buy electronics. When you need street food, coffee shops, some coffee shops, you go in there and you don't have money and they're like, yeah, we don't have change either. So that if China, I'm just saying, if China wants to open up the market to more international tourists, if they could find a solution for that, that would be very helpful, because I would have loved to just take my phone out and paid for everything. It would have been great. You're not carrying money around. And so, yeah, that is one thing that they just asking, please, they could add that to the list.
Alex, thank you so much. That was super interesting.
I hope we will get back to China soon. I do have a 10-year visa for China, and a lot of the cities that I have earmarked coming up in 2020, I hope I'm going to be able to see a few of those, and I hope you're going to be able to get back and see China as well here. So, and for everybody, if you want to see some cool things, I guess come to my channel and visit your channel as well.
You have a show on China.
So we do put up videos on our I guess we'll call it the YouTube channel, Reporterfy Media. And we still have another 6 more to come on Chongqing, and then our next Chinese city, we'll keep it a secret. And we do have a weekly show with a lot of vloggers from China at Chinese time, 9 a.m. Chinese time every Saturday morning. And there's thousands of people that come into that. We talk all things China. So every topic you can imagine we cover.
Super interesting. So for those of you who are interested in China, you should definitely check it out.
I hope you guys liked the video. Remember to subscribe to Alex's channel, Reporterfy Media, and let me know who I should interview next. And also, if you have an idea for a good show name of my little interview show, let me know in the comments. And I'll hopefully see you soon. Bye.